Is this the world's most diabolically expensive DAC? No, that would be the one that I shall not name. That would cost you 130,000 United States dollars. And that's only the most expensive that I found in a 2-minute search. But the iFi IDSD Diablo 2 is, I have to warn you, quite costly. Reassuringly costly, if you like. As I see on iFi's website today, 1,299 Great British pounds. But don't worry, accessories are included. Now that we've got that in perspective, and you know you can't afford it, let's unbox. I think you can probably see that this is intended to be a very high-quality DAC/headphone amp that justifies its cost. The look and feel are very, very nice. And to a certain extent, just having something that's very nice in terms of look and feel justifies a significant proportion of the cost. Come on, when I buy my Bentley, that's going to be a significant proportion of my justification. Before I move on to the technical stuff, I'm just going to say again that physically this is a very high-quality product. And if you buy it, and you find that you don't agree with me on this, what's wrong with you? Now, audiophiles, what do you want to get out of the iFi IDSD Diablo 2, or the Diablo 2 as I shall call it for short? Well, I see two areas of interest. One is that as an audiophile, for this kind of money, you want incredibly good sound. As an objectivist, for me, this is a wide, flat frequency response, inaudible distortion and noise, and of course, no other audible problems. I'm sure you'll find subjective reviews elsewhere on YouTube, but take care to wonder whether they're actually hearing what they talk about, which I accept some people do, or whether they're making it up. Sometimes it's difficult to tell. Having said that, and I'm sure commenters will be pounding their keyboards, let's look at the specs. I'll pick out a few highlights. Frequency response, 1.5 Hz to 114 kHz in DAC mode, 1.5 Hz to 400 kHz in line mode. Okay, oddly enough, the terms DAC mode and line mode only appear in the specification page of the manual, but I'll guess that DAC mode is digital, line mode is analog. I'm going to make a stand here and say that 40 kHz is enough for any audio equipment. It's twice the accepted range of human hearing at 20 kHz, so there's easily enough of a safety margin. Anything above 40 kHz, A, no one can hear it, and B, anything up in that region is only going to be distortion, noise, or interference. That's just my view though, and I'm sure commenters will provide good reasons, physical or philosophical, to the contrary. Let's press on. Signal to noise, 113 dB for the headphone output, 114 dB for the line output. No one can hear that, not even Phil. Distortion, 0.003%. Again, no one can hear it. So, for the big three of audio specifications, apart from what I consider to be an excessively wide frequency response, everything is effectively perfect. Now, let's look at some other specs. Power output. You might see claims of 5,180 milliwatts of prodigious power in iFi's publicity materials. But of course, like many amp manufacturers, they measure it in the most flattering way possible. But dive a little deeper and you'll find an RMS, I think they mean average, spec of just over 2 watts. I'm not sure whether that's per channel or across the two channels, but even 1 watt will blast your brains out with most headphones. And indeed, the manual will encourage you to start your listening session with the volume control low down, then edge it up. As the manual states,
iFi audio is not responsible for any hearing or equipment damage from misuse.
Words of wisdom. I could measure the power output myself, but I'm going to simplify things and tell you later whether it can go loud enough. I suspect it can. I'll also mention the output impedance, which is a pleasantly low, less than 1 ohm. This is significant because it's likely that your headphones will have varying impedance according to frequency, and a high output impedance will result in an uneven frequency response, and you don't want that. This rises to just under 6 ohms if you're using in-ear monitors, but I'll get onto IEMs later. I'm going to leave it there for the specs because you can download them for yourself from the iFi website. iFi? Oh. I'll put a link in the description. As I said, audiophiles will be looking for great specs and great sound. Great specs give you great sound, says objectivist me. But audiophiles, or at least a subset of audiophiles, will want features, loads of features, lots of fiddle factor perhaps. Or among those loads of features, there's the exact combination you want with no compromise. I'll start with the inputs round the back. We have what we expect and what we don't expect. I'll probably drive the Diablo 2 from my computer with the USB-C port. There's a dedicated USB-C for power, which may be a feature or an inconvenience depending on how you view it. But it allows you to use the Diablo 2's power supply, which
features active noise cancellation 2. Effectively cancelling out all incoming EMI and RFI noise and making it more than 10 times quieter than most audiophile power supplies.
You can also drive the Diablo digitally through the SP-DIF input, which doubles as an optical port. I'm not so used to SP-DIF on a mini jack, and maybe I'd prefer a more normal RCA. But then, professionally, I'd probably prefer AES EBU on an XLR connector. I'm just awkward. Not being done with the inputs yet, analog fans can input through a balanced 4.4mm jack. I'd have to nip off to Amazon to buy a suitable cable, then rummage through my store cupboard to find something with a proper balanced output. But coming from a professional background, I'm in favour of balancing, and I'll be happy to see it become more common in hi-fi. Can I throw in a phrase for my commenters? Balanced and floating. Off you go. That will do for the inputs. Now let's look at the outputs. Oh, you thought that a headphone amplifier would be simple. No, it's much more fun than that. Hurrah! There's a proper 1/4-inch jack. Whoever thought that mini jack for headphones was a good idea was sadly misguided. But of course the mini jack is compact and that's the only thing about it. But if the 1/4-inch jack is too exciting for you, you can opt for the balanced 4.4mm output. I'd have to weigh that up. 1/4-inch or balanced? Well, seeing as I don't have any balanced headphones yet, it's a decision I don't have to make. But normal headphones, balanced headphones, people listen in more ways than that. Among audiophiles, IEMs seem to have become popular. It's a funny thing, this. In-ear monitors, to expand the abbreviation, have become popular for live performance. The reason being that the old-fashioned way of working with loudspeaker stage monitors was a bit of a mare for various reasons that I might talk about in a future video. IEMs solve many of the problems, with the downside of isolating the performer from the audience. At least, that's what was thought when they first appeared, but people just accept them now. So how they crossed over into the hi-fi market, I don't know. Calling them in-ear monitors makes no sense, because there are no stage monitors to compare them with, and hi-fi enthusiasts don't monitor, they listen and enjoy. Anyway, here we are, IEM. So the thing about IEMs is that typically they don't take a lot of driving, so you might find yourself working very low down on the volume control. This is an issue that crops up elsewhere. I can give you the example that my audio interface, which I use in my studio to create my irritating unboxing music, it connects to my Quad 306 power amp, which doesn't have a volume control, then to my Yamaha NS10M studio monitors. Like that, I need to have the volume control on the interface so low that it's almost on the end stop. That's inconvenient in itself, but there's also the likelihood of inaccurate tracking between the channels, so one speaker is louder than the other. My solution? A pair of 20 dB attenuators between the interface and amplifier. Okay, that was a bit long-winded, but the Diablo 2 has an IEM match mode. That quietens it down and puts the volume control in a much better place. It's a simple idea, but well worthwhile. Okay, not finished with the outputs yet. What about MEMS or XMEMS? I can't say I'm totally up to speed with this yet, but I can pronounce the words micro-electromechanical systems, which, so I'm told, work like a crystal microphone or crystal cartridge if you like, but backwards. And apparently, unlike crystal microphones and cartridges, in the context of IEMs or earbuds, they're good. MEMS, as I understand it, is the underlying technology. XMEMS is a proprietary version of it. I'm going to have to look into this more deeply for the future, because the only MEMS devices I have at present are a pair of Bluetooth earbuds. They do sound good, but being Bluetooth, they handle a certain complexity of MEMS internally. And that complexity is that wired MEMS devices need a bias voltage, like an electrostatic loudspeaker. But don't worry, the Diablo 2 has an XMEMS mode. I'll leave it there for the moment, but I'm sure there'll be much more to talk about in my future videos. Like, what happens when you plug regular headphones into a MEMS or XMEMS output? You know, I'm not going to try it. Now, more fiddle factor. As well as having a specific IEM mode with a switch on the bottom of the unit, there are also other modes which are normal, turbo, and nitro. This sounds more exciting than it is. But once again, it's about setting the output level of the Diablo 2 to suit your headphones and getting the volume control in a useful range. Oh, and when you've found a suitable volume setting, you can lock the knob. Fabulous! No unexpected volume changes when you're using this out and about. So, I've covered all the inputs in terms of how you'll physically connect to the Diablo 2, but of course there's more detail, a lot more detail. I'll throw up a list of digital audio formats on screen, together with the wonderful colours the front panel LED will glow. I'm old enough to remember when the only colour was red. So, if you paused to peruse that, you'll see that every possibility is catered for. Well, I think every possibility, but you'd have to be doing something weird to miss out. One colour, of course, will be of no use to you, and that's green. Oh, and blue too. Oh, and magenta. From what I can find online, MQB is MQA once it's unfolded. But since none of us will be using that, it's irrelevant. Shame to miss those colours, though. But not all is lost. There's Bluetooth. I wouldn't be forgetting that. Here's what we have. I think that's pretty much everything, although I have to say that I don't think I'd be paying nearly £1,300 to listen via Bluetooth. OK, aptX lossless for those who have equipment that can send it. Sorry, iPhone users. But when a DAC/headphone amplifier has everything, it can't miss Bluetooth out. It would be interesting to hear from commenters how they might use the Diablo 2 with Bluetooth and why they wouldn't use a wired analog or digital connection in preference. Genuine question. What's left? Well, I haven't mentioned that the Diablo 2 has a battery so you can use it out and about. Or have I? I have now. I haven't mentioned iFi's really rather intense marketing. That will strike FOMO into any sensitive audiophile. Betty.
Enhanced pure wave, fully balanced twin mono circuit design delivers ultra-low distortion. Servo less direct drive and optimal loop enhance performance to unparalleled heights.
That's just a taste. There's more on the website, link in the description. But I'll go back to the high-quality look and feel of the Diablo 2, the performance, and yes, my headphones are easily loud enough. Both my regular 32 ohms and my nominally 8 ohms Verum 1s. The IEM mode does what it says and is a genuinely useful feature. And the sound is good, objectively good. £1,299 Great British pounds. This is not going to be an impulse purchase for most of us. So I recommend searching out other shades of opinion on the Diablo 2. Personally, I like it. There's nothing not to like. Do I prefer having $12.99 resting untouched in my bank account? Jury's out. As always, iFi sent me the Diablo 2, But other than that and any affiliate links in the description, there's no payment involved. So I can say what I like, and I've said it. See you soon.